Welcome back to another FPL video and podcast. This will be my first draft ahead of the new season, and I'll build upon what I discussed in the FPL launch stream several days ago. And over the next month, I'll provide the ultimate fantasy Premier League coverage, so you're well prepared for the Gameweek 1 deadline. Be sure to join my FPL league as well. The code is ON86JX. It's very easy to join. There's an auto join link in the description below, and I highly recommend you check out all the other links like my Twitter and Instagram, the Discord server, FPL League, Drafthound, and also Spotify. Leave a 5-star review on my podcast. It goes a long way to support my channel. Speaking of which, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new if you enjoy the content, because FPL, UCL Fantasy, Euro Fantasy, as I've done this summer, and the World Cup Fantasy is all covered on this channel. The best coverage that you can find. Without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Just before the game launched, we got some big announcements and key rule changes, the biggest of which is the fact you can now have up to 5 free transfers, and before this season, the maximum you could stack is 2, but now, even with a wildcard or free hit chip activated, you can actually have 5 free transfers in the following week, and the transfers won't reset to 0. So now you can say 5 free transfers, play any chip, the bench boost, triple captain, wildcard, or free hit, have 5 free transfers immediately afterwards, and that also allows those engaged managers who plan ahead and are patient to really pull away from the rest of the pack. And it also gives casual managers who maybe missed a few deadlines to still catch up with the amount of free transfers at their disposal. So you've always been able to keep 2 free transfers when playing the bench boost or triple captain chips, so nothing has changed there. But the biggest changes are you can now stack up to 5 free transfers, and the wildcard or free hit chips don't reset your transfers to 0. That is very big news there from FPL. We also have a mystery chip. We don't know anything about it just yet, so there's not really much point about talking about it. We can speculate, and I want to see your thoughts down in the comment section below, but it doesn't really require too much coverage at this point of the season. We've had also a few changes to the pitch design, so they've brought over the FPL challenge, and I know a lot of you in the live stream were kind of saying, I'm not sure why they've done this, and I think you'll kind of warm up to it, but it doesn't really seem like a necessary change, so to speak. But the bonus points has seen a bit of an overhaul here, and there has been a change to the point scoring system. It's a very minute one. We're not going to see in practice very often, but a goalkeeper will now score 10 points for getting a goal compared to the previous 6, which we used to see. Alisson a couple of years back scored that great goal against West Bromwich Albion, and who knows when we'll next get a goalkeeper return as well. But in terms of the BPS, saving a penalty will be reduced from 15 to 9 BPS, so that reduces the chances of a goalkeeper getting maximum bonus points after saving a penalty. Goalkeepers and defenders conceding a goal will be worth -4 BPS. A goal line clearance will be worth 3 BPS. A foul 1 is worth 1 BPS, and a shot on target will be worth 2 in the bonus point system. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And the other real thing to note is that we're going to get fewer blanks and doubles, which we knew from last season. The schedule for the FA Cup ties will be different this time round, resulting in fewer clashes with the Premier League fixtures. So as a result, fewer blanks and doubles, and the chip strategy might be less relevant now more than ever, but it's still going to be fairly important in my opinion. And we also have that mystery chip, which could shake things up in January. With all of the key FPL changes out of the way, it's time to dissect my 50-man squad and my first draft. It is very rough and there will be some teething issues, but I'll discuss the pros and cons and explain why I've gone for these players. Some of them will be enablers and they're not too relevant, but the starting 11 has been focused on, and you can go for some squad depth and even a fully stacked 50-man squad to prevent the use of transfers, so you can stack them up and also be more flexible with how you approach the new FPL campaign. Jordan Pickford was the highest scoring goalkeeper in FPL last season, producing 153 points. That was 18 more than David Raya in second place, and Everton delivered 13 clean sheets. Only Arsenal kept more, and Pickford made 121 saves, and he also delivered 22 bonus points, more than any other goalkeeper as well. He is priced at 5 million this time round, and I remember this time last year I was quite hesitant on Pickford, and Everton started very slowly and I felt justified in recommending that to viewers, but over the course of the season Pickford started to step up. Everton were keeping more clean sheets and Sean Dyche really got a tune out of the toffee, so I think he could be a good option from the get-go. In terms of the fixture difficulty rating until Gameweek 14, they are top Everton are top of the FDR and they only have 3 games versus last season's top 6, Spurs and Aston Villa away and Newcastle at home. Pickford is a template pick with over 18% ownership, but that could actually increase to over 20 by the time we get to the Gameweek 1 deadline. Now, my backup goalkeeper is really just a 4 million option. Now, you might be looking for that gem who's going to start at that price tag, and it doesn't seem like we're going to get that at the moment. I'm going for Turner, who will likely be second choice for Nottingham Forest. Remember, Vlachodimos did leave in that swap exchange between Nottingham Forest and Newcastle, so it's going to be Sells in goal with Turner as the backup. He's also very template with over 20% ownership, and he was the starting goalkeeper for Nottingham Forest last season, but that changed towards the very end. And for me, there is no 4 million option to really discuss in the goalkeeper position right now. Muric will be 4.5 million, and he's just joined Ipswich Town. He could be one to look at, but I don't trust Ipswich Town defensively whatsoever. Some of you could also go for Sells and Turner as your goalkeeper pairing, and that could work fairly well, but I'd still rather go for a more reliable team defensively, and that's what I've gone for in Everton. And Jordan Pickford is arguably still the very best way of covering the Toffees defensively. Despite a disappointing campaign for Andrew Robertson, I'm still going for another Merseyside defensive coverage here, and Robertson was the 43rd highest scoring defender in FPL with only 76 points. That's a terrible return considering what he's done in the past, but he missed multiple games through injury, and he still created 62 chances for his teammates and 11 goals with 61 assists throughout his Premier League career. That's an incredible tally for a left back. Only 8% ownership after a price decrease to 6 million, and Liverpool are top of the FDR for the first 6 game weeks, facing Ipswich Town away, Brentford at home, Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth at home. These are excellent fixtures, and I'd go for at least one defensive coverage from Liverpool if possible. That could be Alisson in goal, maybe Quansah at 4.5 million. Virgil van Dijk always offers a bit of attacking threat, and you've got Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's priced at 7 million as well. All of them offer great value, and it's a shame we don't have ball recoveries in this game. Otherwise, it would definitely be even more difficult to decide between Robertson, Van Dijk, Quansah, or Konate, and obviously Trent Alexander-Arnold there. But Robertson is still a very good pick, and his low ownership makes him even more appealing for me. Now, next up is going to be a 4.5 million defender, and it's another team with good fixtures to start the season, and I'm going to go for Joachim Andersen. Now, Munoz would be the preference at 5 million. He's got the attacking potential, which he demonstrated for Colombia in this Copa America as they reached the final, and also for Crystal Palace. He had a great start with 4 assists, but also 4 yellow cards, and I think Munoz could be a bit of a yellow card magnet, and I think Joachim Andersen is the best Crystal Palace defender in terms of pure bonus points potential. He's also got the odd goal or assist in him. He's created multiple big chances for a centre-back, and he also had a few big chances himself with plenty of shots and also plenty of attacking potential. So I think he could be a decent choice here. 2 goals and 3 assists last season, 10 clean sheets for the Eagles and 12 bonus points, and Palace ended the season very strongly following the appointment of Oliver Glasner. The Eagles are second in the FDR until Gameweek 6. They remain in the top 3 until Gameweek 14. So these are good long-term fixtures. So at 4.5 million, Gay or Anderson provide great value. Munoz at 5 million provides a bit more attacking threat. But Joachim Andersen for the bonus points and the pure 4.5 million price tag could be the very best option there for the Eagles. And considering his FPL tally from last season, over 120 points, I think that's well justified. Next up is another 4.5 million defender with plenty of ownership, and that's going to be Dan Burn. But I am looking at alternatives like Lewis Hall or Livramento, who boast much lower ownership, and in the case of Lewis Hall, I think he'll be the starting left back for Newcastle, whilst Dan Burn should be at centre back alongside Fabian Schär. Sven Botman is still out until December most likely, and hopefully he recovers very soon, but Dan Burn should be fairly nailed on despite Newcastle signing a centre half today in Bivas, a 19-year-old, but it should be those two, Burn and Fabian Schär, as the main centre-back partnership, Kieran Trippier on the right and Lewis Hall on the left, and you could see a rotation with Livramento as well. Dan Burn doesn't have much bonus points potential, only the 4 last season, 2 goals and 2 assists, 97 FPL points overall. He was the 24th highest scoring defender, and I also think in terms of ownership, 22%, that's not too appealing for me. I've got a few template picks here in Pickford, Anderson and Burn, but it is compensated by Robertson, who has less than 10% ownership and attacking potential alongside the great fixtures for Liverpool there. Next up is another 4.5 million defender, and he doesn't have much attacking threat, even less than Dan Burn in fact, but he does have a bit more bonus points potential, and Aston Villa also look very strong with 7 signings being made, and there are no signs of that stopping anytime soon. So I'm looking to go for Konsa, who is a very template pick with roughly 18% ownership, just a 1 goal and 1 assist from last season, but he delivered 7 clean sheets and 7 bonus points. For Aston Villa to finish 4th and not keep that many clean sheets is quite surprising, but Unai Emery is more of an attack-minded manager at times, and I don't think Aston Villa looked solid defensively in many games last season. In fact, they kept back-to-back clean sheets against Arsenal and Manchester City, but other than that period, they look very shaky and conceded multiple chances in virtually every single game. And the way they ended last season also cast some doubts going into the new campaign. But I think the signings will definitely bring some confidence and tranquility to the Aston Villa fan base as they now embark into the Champions League next season. That could be a difficult balance to strike, but I think if they continue on this path and make even more promising signings, they could actually finish in the top 4 yet again. Next up is a 4 million defender, and we have a few to choose from actually at this price tag, but I'm going to go for Wout Faes, who was a Euro Fantasy hero of some sorts. He was very impressive in that game, mainly due to ball recoveries, which isn't a feature in FPL unfortunately. He scored twice for Leicester in the Championship across 46 games, and he actually started the vast majority of them, and in Euro Fantasy he produced 2 clean sheets out of 4 matches, and Leicester have good long-term fixtures with a positive fixture swing starting in Game Week 5. He's got very low ownership at around 6%, so Wout Faes could be one of the better 4 million picks in this position, but I have to say most people will be going for Harwood Bellis and a few others that I'll discuss in future videos and podcasts as well. Mohamed Salah is priced at 12.5 million despite being the 5th highest scoring midfielder last season, which is quite low by his standards. He got 18 goals and 12 assists in the previous campaign, producing 24 bonus points, and he has always scored over 200 FPL points per season with Liverpool, and his Game Week 1 record is simply incredible. 9 goals and 7 assists in 8 Game Week 1 fixtures, producing 6 double-digit returns. And for those going without Haaland, I think Salah provides a great captaincy choice, particularly for the first 6 game weeks, and his ownership is around 31%, which is quite low by Mohamed Salah's high standards. Next up is going to be Bukayo Saka, who has been amongst the high scoring midfielders in the last couple of FPL seasons, and that's why he's now priced at 10 million. Arsenal's fixtures aren't that great for me, especially in the first 6 game weeks, but Arsenal also boasted one of the very best attacks, and Saka was integral to that with 16 goals and 12 fantasy assists, 29 bonus points, and he got 226 points overall. He was the 4th high scoring player in the game, 108 shots and 91 key passes. All of Saka's underlying numbers are actually very impressive, and Arsenal are top of the FDR for the first 3 game weeks, so he could work as a very short-term punt, and over time the Gunners' fixtures get better, especially between game week 6 to 8, where they face Leicester and Southampton at home, as well as Bournemouth away. So Saka, with 26.7% ownership, could be another solid option in the midfield, and we've got so many to choose from around a similar price tag. Phil Foden at 9.5 million, Heung-min Son, who is still quite overlooked, Cole Palmer, who is a very template pick as well. So it's going to be very difficult choosing your favourite midfielders, especially if you also go for Erling Haaland up front. Next up in my team though is Phil Foden at 9.5 million. I think that's a great price tag for him. You've also got Kevin De Bruyne sharing the same price, but his minutes and injury record aren't reliable, and I think Foden will be integral playing as an attacking midfielder or on the wings for Manchester City. He can do a job in any of those positions, so Foden is probably locked in for me if I don't go for Erling Haaland up front. Only Palmer scored more FPL points than Foden's 230, 19 goals and 8 fantasy assists as Foden won the Premier League Player of the Season award. He got 31 bonus points, and in terms of his underlying numbers, they're decent. In fact, 105 shots and 73 chances created is very impressive, but I would argue other midfielders like Palmer and Saka boast better underlying numbers, and Foden massively overperformed his XG, which was 10.17. He scored a lot of long shots. I mean, look at the game against West Ham in Gameweek 38, for example, and Man City's fixtures are quite hit and miss at the beginning, just like Arsenal's, but I think the FDR does favour Arsenal's a little bit more, which I personally disagree with. And Foden also has similar ownership to Salah and Saka with around 32%, and I think he's a very good option to cover that Man City attack. Now in the fourth midfielder slot, I'm going to go for a cheaper midfielder, of course, and that's going to be a 7.5 million bargain with great opening fixtures in Anthony Gordon, who is fairly priced in my opinion, but he could have been even higher considering what he did for Newcastle last time out. 183 FPL points, the highest scoring player at 7.5 million or below in any position. He delivered 11 goals and 16 fantasy assists, despite his XA, expected assists, only being 5.40. His away record was very inconsistent, but at St James's Park, his record was simply outstanding, and he got 10 yellow cards and 1 red, so that could be an issue, and it also has prevented him from getting bonus points from time to time. But the fifth and final choice in this position is going to be a 4.5 million, very boring pick to be quite honest with you, and that's going to be Harry Winks, who only scored twice in the Championship last season, and other options like Bergvall from Tottenham will be much more exciting. I think over the course of the season he will get more game time and he could be the outstanding 4.5 million midfielder, but for now I'm going for Harry Winks to sit on my bench pretty much all the time in the second or third slot, and you're not really going to rely on him in terms of output, because if you look at his record for Tottenham over the years, it's pretty terrible. But he started 45 games in the Championship last season out of 46. He's as nailed on as you can get for a 4.5 million midfielder, and his XG figure was 2.38, and he scored twice, so no surprises there. He is still a decent enabler, and he should produce his best ever FPL return with many more minutes than he ever got at Tottenham Hotspur, and his ownership is 7%, and honestly, you're not really going to own him for returns or to have him as a consistent starter. You want to avoid him as much as possible in your starting 11. He's just a facilitator and enabler, and around 5 to 5.5 million, there are better options like Hudson-Odoi, Elanga, Morgan Rogers could also be another great option from Aston Villa, but I'm going for Harry Winks for now to be that 4.5 million enabler to go for 3 solid forwards. Chris Wood only played roughly 1,800 minutes in the Premier League last season, but he still delivered 131 points with 14 goals and 1 assist, a great hat-trick at St James's Park against his former club Newcastle, and with Awani set to miss pre-season, I think that opens the door for Chris Wood to be nailed on for the beginning of the season, and Nottingham Forest have a great start, especially in the first 3 game weeks where they are second in the fixture difficulty rating, and for the first 10 game weeks they are still in the top 3. They only faced Liverpool away and Chelsea away from last season's top 6 in the opening 10 game weeks of the campaign. There could be rotation with Awani later down the line, but I don't think that'll be the case for the first few game weeks of this season, and his ownership is only 2.7% at the time of this recording, so Chris Wood could be a massive differential. There are so many options around a similar price. You've got Manice at 6 million, Joao Pedro at 5.5, but I think Chris Wood looks like the most enticing option when you factor in the fixtures and also how streaky he can be. I can just see him going off in the first 3 game weeks of this campaign. Next up is going to be a consistent option who could now be on penalties following the departure of Douglas Luiz to Juventus, and that's Ollie Watkins, but his penalty record is very poor. He has scored 4 in his career and missed 5, so he's very inconsistent from the penalty spot. He got 33 big chances for Aston Villa last season, 19 goals and 18 fantasy assists. It was an incredible campaign by Ollie Watkins to spearhead Aston Villa into the top 4. He got 29 bonus points and he was the highest scoring forward with 228 points, more than Erling Haaland. Let's see if he can do it once again. His XG was 16.74 and the expected assist only 4.02, so there was a massive overperformance, and that could actually indicate a drop-off this season. 107 shots with 96 inside the box though. Most of the underlying numbers are very solid, like the big chances, but the XG and XA were very underwhelming when you look at how much he did last season. But ultimately, football is played on the pitch and not with a calculator. But let's see how Watkins does. Will he be on penalties now? Let me know down in the comment section below if you believe he will. I'm not really too big of a fan of Watkins being on penalties, considering his very inconsistent record. He is actually the highest owned player in the game right now with 56.2%, and one strategy could be to start with Erling Haaland and then move him on to Ollie Watkins around Game Week 3 when the fixtures really turn for Aston Villa. But the third and final forward is going to be Isak, another template pick with similar ownership to Ollie Watkins. In fact, these two are the highest owned players in the game, and Isak is good from the penalty spot. He has missed a few times with 5 misses, but he has scored 14 times, so he's much more reliable from the spot than Ollie Watkins, and he was the 5th highest scoring forward last season with 172 points, 21 goals and 4 fantasy assists, 23 bonus points, and he only played around 2,200 minutes. If he can stay fit for the rest of the season and fence off Callum Wilson as the starting striker at all times, we could see Isak being amongst the highest scoring players in the game, and he is the main penalty taker at all times. Callum Wilson's the only one who could take penalties off him from time to time. 40 big chances for Isak and an XG figure of 20.22. The underlying numbers are incredible for him, and he would be the favourite Newcastle asset, even over Anthony Gordon, for at least the opening 5 game weeks of this season. So that's my 50-man squad. Let me now show you my starting 11 and discuss the captaincy for my first draft in Game Week 1. There are no surprises between the sticks. I would go for Jordan Pickford over Turner. Now, if the American could become the number 1 for Nottingham Forest, then it would be a debate, because Everton's fixture is worse on paper against Brighton at home. But I'm going to go for Jordan Pickford at this moment in time. A back three of Robertson, Joachim Andersen and Burn, and a midfield 4 of Salah, Saka, Foden and Gordon, which looks very solid. And the front line looks pretty decent considering there is no Erling Haaland, with Chris Wood, Watkins and Isak. In terms of the captaincy, I'm looking at Salah as my main option, with Isak taking the vice. If I were to go for Erling Haaland in a future draft or in my final team selection, I don't think he would be my vice over Isak, and Salah would be my preference in Game Week 1, no matter who I own at the very end. And my bench includes Turner, Konsa, Fass and Harry Winks. I don't think the order should change necessarily. There is a debate to start Konsa over Joachim Andersen because both of them don't have great fixtures on paper, but I don't think that's really too relevant. And another thing I could do actually is to downgrade Chris Wood to Joao Pedro, then downgrade Robertson to Alessandro Martinez or another 4.5 million defender like Mickey van der Ven, and use those funds to upgrade Harry Winks to an Nkunku, for example, or a Morgan Gibbs-White. That's something else I could do with the funds, and if you prefer that, I would like to see your thoughts down in the comment section below. Remember, we have a 100 million budget as always. You have to pick 2 goalkeepers, 5 defenders, 5 midfielders and 3 forwards. If you have any questions whatsoever, then also contact me on the Discord server, Twitter, Instagram, or in the comment section as well. Thank you very much for watching this video and listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for new. Let's try to get this video to the 200 likes, and let's keep on pushing towards new goals like 30,000 subscribers, which we're looking to get to by the end of the year. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the other links in the description below for my Patreon and the channel memberships, the Discord server, FPL League, Drafthound, and also Spotify. Leave a 5-star review on my podcast. It would go a long way to support my channel. I wish you all the best of luck for Game Week 1 and enjoy the rest of the summer break, and I'll see you next time.